their home turf at Craven Park in Hull to a very warm reception, but far from the maddening effects of the crowd at Wigan last Sunday when 30,000 people were on hand to witness the Kangaroos' opening tour success. Of course, this side were the league champions in 84 and 85, and as I mentioned, on their trip to Wembley in May this year, they were defeated by Castleford in the final of the Challenge Cup. They've started this season with mixed fortunes as the Australian team led out by Benny Elias. What a moment for him. We've got Greg Dowling, of course, Chris Mortimer, another big moment for him, and also Wally, the Queensland fullback Gary Belcher. What a great year. This has culminated with his first appearance in Australia's colours.
Yes, it certainly is, David. It wasn't all that long ago where Gary wasn't even a representative footballer. Of course, Colin Scott holding down the State of Origin fullback position for the first game, and Gary Belcher getting his opportunity and certainly grasping it in both hands and not letting it go.
Well, the Kangaroos have played 13 matches here in the Craven Park. They have won 12. Their loss was in 1967-68 when they're defeated by 27 points to 15. In fact, the biggest crowd was back in 1921-22, 13,000 people at Craven Park. And there's the man in charge of this afternoon's match, or this evening's match, Geoffrey Kershaw, 43-year-old from York, who refereed the Challenge Cup final and the Lancashire Cup final in 1981, and has also refereed 2 internationals in his career, which, in fact, has been going around about 16 or 17 years. He could well, in fact, be in charge of a very fiery opening, as we mentioned earlier, Wally, if the last 2 appearances by Australian sides here at Craven Park are any indication.
Yes, that's a distinct possibility, David, although I think if there is any fireworks, it won't be started by the Australians. We found in previous tours that anything that even looks like it's a little bit illegal from the Australians certainly draws the attention of the referee, and we just can't afford to be giving away penalties all night long to English teams.
OK, so Big Mal Meninga, who had such an outstanding second half in the opening tour match of the 82 Kangaroos, when Australia won that by 30 points to 12, was about to get this game underway, the second tour match of the Kangaroo Tour for 1986. And it's Hull Kingston Rovers who are taking out Benny Elias, leading his country, as I mentioned, for the first time, leading Australia's defence. It goes out now through the big second row forward, Harrison, and some solid defence out there by Australia in the form of Des Hasler. So it's Hull Kingston Rovers in possession of the ball now. It went out through Dorahy and in turn for David Laws, but he was claimed in the tackle. Now it's back for Fairburn. The kick towards this commentary side of Craven Park. There's Gary Belcher, his first touch. And Gary Clark is the man that comes in to effect the tackle. Now Mortimer for Meninga. Well, they remember him, Wally, from his appearance here in the Kangaroo Tour in 82, and also with St Helens.
That's for sure. Mel set the English crowds alight with his first appearance in this country in 82, and I'm sure they all too well remember him.
Well, there's Langmack and Dunn combining down the blind side for the Australians. Elias now, and it goes out through Hasler, and taken upfield by Martin Bell. A beautiful pass. And finally, it's taken in the tackle that time by Greg Dowling.
That's a magnificent start for Martin Bell. It's the first time he's touched the ball for Australia, and has produced a great front rower's pass.
There's Steve Folkes, taken inside the 22. Australia in possession and on the attack. Terry Lamb hoisted high in the air. It's a well-placed bomb. Fairburn goes up, it takes it well. And the penalty has gone against Australia, as our tempers are already starting to flare. But I think a player was taken out, Wally, while the ball was in the air by one of Australia's advancing backs.
Well, just by that call, David, it looks like he may have even penalised Australia for being in front of the kicker, and duly penalised them back about an extra 10 metres as well.
So it's a chance now to see Hull Kingston Rovers on the attack for the first time, as it's taken up this time by Andy Kelly. He's wrapped up well and truly in the tackle. He's up quickly for the ball now. There's Harrison. There's the kick from Dorahy, the ball out in touch on the full, in fact, from the 5/8 Mike Smith. So that's where the scrum will pack down inside Hull Kingston Rovers' end of the ground. So the scrum to be fed by Des Hasler of Australia. And a penalty, in fact, will go against Hasler for the incorrect feed.
Yes, I think you can expect a fair bit of this, David. Australians always seem to have trouble feeding the ball into the scrums over there, although when the scrums are fed in the same manner by the English, they never seem to draw as much attention by the referees.
So it's John Doherty to kick for touch. Channel 10, in fact, had to supplement the lighting here at Craven Park for this telecast to get underway. We do apologise if the pictures aren't even still up to scratch, but we've been battling for the last 3 or 4 days to be able to bring this match to you. As the ball's taken up by Zook Emma, the big prop forward for Hull Kingston Rovers. Now Harrison. The man into dummy half is Chris Rudd. Parker. So play inside Australia's end of the ground by about 5 metres. Broadhurst. But that's solid defence by Australia inside their own half. In fact, about 10 metres inside Australia's half as the ball is put down into Australia's quarter. That's Belcher retreating. And he allows the ball to go dead in goal. So play, in fact, will come back to the quarter line for the restart of play. So no score in this match. We've had about 4 minutes in the first half as Dowling runs it out and takes play to about 10 metres outside the Australian 22. Benny Elias running for dummy half. Now, what's this signal, Wally? You've played over here in Great Britain. I struggled last Sunday to pick up the interpretation. Is it incorrect, play the ball?
Well, he's got the player running onto the ball, David, being penalised for being inside the 5 metres. And I mean, if they're going to do this, they'll be penalising blokes from both teams all night long. And I think the sooner this bloke just forgets about it and gets on with refereeing the game under the same rules for both teams, the better the game's going to be. OK, so it's Joe Cool, John Doherty to attempt the first shot at penalty goal in this match with 5 minutes gone. Doherty so far in 86 has scored 26 points for Hull Kingston Rovers from 3 tries and 7 goals. Remembering, of course, in May at the Wembley Cup final against Castleford, he probably still has very bitter memories, Wally, of that kick that went astray, which could well have kept them in the match. Yeah, that's right. It's an unfortunate thing, but as a lot of people here remember, he did miss the kick, but I think they're being a little bit unfair to him. The kick was right from a half a metre inside the touchline, and there's not too many people that would handle those conditions throughout their rugby league careers. And I'm sure when you've got 100,000 people live at the game and then another couple of million people around the world watching you certainly do feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. So John Doherty with the ball placed, moves in, chance to put Hull Kingston Rovers in the lead. And it looks a great kick. And so the Robins lead the Kangaroos by 2 points to 0 here at Craven Park. We've had just on 5 minutes of play. Certainly have been given a fair bit of a hand so far in the game.
OK, Benny Elias coming in. Robbed the possession, that's Lamb. Australia on the attack inside the 22. So Elias, the man slipping into dummy half. On the blind side goes Dowling. Makes it valuable 3 or 4 metres.
I think we've got a bit of bad news for Australia here, David. Stephen Folkes is holding that groin injury he's had for a long time, and it certainly doesn't look too good at the moment. I just hope for the tourist's sake that it only ends up being a cork or something, because it doesn't look too good at the moment.
Well, that has been a contentious point. Stephen Folkes struggled right through the latter part of the 1986 Winfield Premiership in Sydney after sustaining that injury in the 3rd test against New Zealand. And a lot of people thought that he may have been a doubtful member of this Kangaroo side because of that fitness problem. So let's hope that isn't a recurrence of that injury, because Stephen Folkes obviously still well in line for the first test match at Old Trafford in just a week or two's time. So a penalty goes against Hull Kingston Rovers. And Big Mal Meninga coming across. No, Elias is electing to keep the pressure on Hull Kingston Rovers.
I think you'll see a move here, David, that we've been using for quite some time, where we try and spin the ball as far across the field as early as possible.
Meninga wrapped up well and truly by Bowstead. He's lost the ball. And finally it's picked up by Terry Lamb. Australia on the attack again. Elias from dummy half, and he can expect to see him do a lot tonight from that position. Here's Lamb, great support play through the dummy, and takes play to 10 metres short of the Hull Kingston Rovers line. Once again Elias running wide through the dummy, through he goes. Elias short, is it a try? It's a try to Australia, scored by Benny Elias, and Australia in the lead by 4 points to 2.
It's extremely good work there, David, from Benny. He's managed to to spot that the markers weren't too quick to move off the mark. And he's got a very good ducking game, Ben. As you can see, he's got onto 2 tackles there and a very feeble attempt from George Fairburn in the end to try and stop him, but not taking anything away from Benny. He's done very well to score from that far out.
OK, so Benny Elias puts Australia in the lead by 4 points to 2. And we've had just on 7.5 minutes of play in this first half. So Mal Meninga has the ball placed. The highest point scorer on the Kangaroo Tour of 1982 with 166 points. He's kicked over 100 points in State of Origin matches and opens his account on the Kangaroo Tour of 1986 with a great conversion. And so Australia in the lead by 6 points to 2. So John Dorahy with the ball placed to restart this match. And immediately that the Robins got in front, what a reply by the Kangaroos, Wally.
Yes, certainly a great reply there, David, and I'm sure that Benny Elias will be elated after that. It's certainly a great way, and looks like he's going to play a real captain's knock this evening.
Well, if you picked up the progress on Stephen Folkes, because while I was looking there, the try was scored.
It looks like he's recovered a little bit
now.
Hopefully it wasn't his groin. It looked like he may have picked up a cork, but we're only hoping here.
Dale Shearer, his first touch on the Kangaroo Tour. Elias in a dummy half. Back it goes for Meninga. The long driving kick downfield over the head of Clark. What a great kick from the big Queensland centre. And that puts Australia right back on attack inside the Robins end of the ground.
I think you'll see Australia adopt these sort of tactics, David. They'll just work it up for a couple inside their own territory and then kick the ball. But I'm not really sure. I thought it should have been Australia's loose head there after kicking early in the tackle count.
There's some good defence. The man that came out very quickly from the back of the scrum was Paul Langmack. Out and goes through Parker. Or solid defence that time by
Stephen Folkes.
Great hit. That's the sort of thing that they're looking for in the test match. A very fit Stephen Folkes. His work rate in the earlier test matches against New Zealand was outstanding, Wally.
That's right, David. I hadn't played with Stephen until last year's test series this year's test series in New Zealand. He's certainly a valuable acquisition to any side. The amount of defensive work he gets through in the middle of the ruck, you just can't replace a player like him.
Dorahy back to Fairburn. Evaded one tackle. Drove it downfield. Picked up by Gary Belcher. He elects to run it. Beat one tackle. Support of Mortimer. Got under the tackle of Mike Smith. And that's a penalty to Australia. That's against the big second row forward, Eddie Kelly. And so a chance for Meninga to drive play back inside Hull Kingston Rovers end of the ground. The penalties favouring the home side to the tune of 3-2. But Australia leading the ball game by 6 points to 2. Martin Bella. I tell you what, his determination impressed me in the opening minutes, Wally. He's really taken the ball up strongly.
Yes, he's had a marvellous year, Martin Bella, David. When he went to Sydney, I thought that he would go well, but I thought it might take him a little bit longer to settle in. But he just has proven what ability he has got, and I'm sure that he's going to get better as the years go by. But certainly a great start by him so far.
There's Hasler, Terry Lamb, Belcher in the line. He's in the clear. Mortimer, one to beat. Back inside, Terry Lamb. And what a great try by Australia.
He should be backing up. It's not surprising to see Terry Lamb, the man to back up. He's been some amazing people week in and week out at Sydney by his ability to back the ball up and scoring his first try for Australia.
So, as Wally mentioned, we've seen him do it so often. In the Sydney Premiership in '86, Terry Lamb, regarded as probably one of the great support players in Sydney, has put Australia in the lead by 10 points to 2. And we've had just on 13 minutes of play in this first half.
Australia showing already, David, a real willingness to throw the ball around out wide, and they've got the confidence about them now. They were a little bit shaky when they went out on the field because they did have a distinct lack of experienced players out there, but they're just letting their ability speak for themselves so far, and they're playing very creditably so far.
So Meninga, 1 from 1 so far. Great play by Belcher and Mortimer in the lead up to that try. And the ever-present Terry Lamb was the man that backed up to score it. So Meninga with the ball placed. It's only less than half a metre in from touch on this broadcast side of Craven Park. Right on the quarter line. There's the kick. It's going left of the upright. No goal. And so the scoreline, Australia 10, lead Hull Kingston Rovers 2. So despite the depleted side, Hull Kingston Rovers, it's still a fair bit of talent out there, Wally, but the real big test is now, can they come back?
Well, I think having the home advantage, David, they always seem to play strong throughout the game. Obviously, they don't want to disappoint their fans too much, and believe me, when English fans get disappointed over there, they let their home players know all about it.
So Dowling just brushed through the tackle, or the attempted tackle of Broadhurst. Elias out to Hasler. Lagmac takes play to about 8 metres short of the halfway line. Elias, Bella, and again a good strong bumping run. That pass went forward, picked up by Dale Shearer, and the referee has allowed play to go on, although the crowd obviously felt the way I did, that the pass in fact from Bella did go forward. So Australia still on the attack. It goes out through Hasler. Meninga, the big fella's in the clear. Belcher is cut out and the pass has gone astray. Picked up by Mortimer. And he's finally taken in the tackle by Dorahy. Now Dowling for Lamb. He hoists it high in the air, putting pressure on Fairbairn, the fullback. He took it well. Ran square on the goal line before he was taken in the tackle by Gene Miles. So Hull Kingston Rovers pegged on their own line, trailing by 10 points to 2. Dunn missed the tackle. Dowling cleaned it up. Now it's picked up by Hasler. And that's good defence.
I think you saw there a classic difference, David, of the different styles of Australian and English rugby league. They don't mind throwing the ball around too much at all, close to their own line, whereas the Australians tend to work it out for a couple of rucks and play it downfield. The English are quite content to throw the ball around very close to their own line. Well,
Mal Meninga is pegged for using Gary Belcher as the obstruction on that particular move by the Australian three-quarters. And so a penalty goes to Hull Kingston Rovers. And the man in possession of the ball at the moment is John Dorahy. Driving play up over halfway. And so the Robins with a chance to launch an attack. Gee, that's solid defence by
Stephen Folkes.
Tremendous
just belies his size, his ability to hit.
There's Harrison. Dowling went low. Meninga over the top. Emma. And a penalty goes against Paul Dunn for not allowing Zook Emma to play the ball correctly. So another penalty goes, in fact, against the tourist, who currently lead by 10 points to 2.
Just prior to the penalty there, David, I'm sure that coach Johnny Furner would be very happy with the way the Australians moved up in their defensive line. They were moving up very quickly and also very straight. There was certainly some solid hitting going on there, and Stephen Folkes, of course, showing the way. I just hope that that the Australians can keep this up. I've got no doubt that they can, but I think that they might get a little bit carried away with their lead if we tend to get too far in front.
Well, a chance for that lead to be pegged back by John Dorahy. He struck his first penalty attempt very nicely indeed to raise the flags for the first 2 points of the bat. And now he has a chance to add 2 further points to the Hull Kingston Rovers tally. Of course, as I mentioned at the beginning of the telecast, the Robins coached by that great little English player, Roger Millward, took over in 1977 as coach of Hull Kingston Rovers. As Dorahy moves in. Let's watch the flight of the ball. It looks good. The flags go up, and Dorahy makes it 2 from 2. And the scoreline, 10 points to 4 in favour of Australia. And Molly, that's an ominous sign. John Dorahy in form with that right boot.
Yes, great kicking from John Dorahy. That ball was only 2 or 3 metres inside the halfway, David. I'm sure that his confidence will be sky high around now.
So Meninga drives play right to the goal line of Hull Kingston Rovers. And Elias up there to effect the tackle with Stephen Folkes. That's Harrison. And Miles in there to effect the tackle with Hasler. So Hull Kingston Rovers pegged down on their own line. Harrison very slowly to his feet. There's some confusion. And so play will be restarted with the goal line dropout, but certainly the whole Kingston Rovers were at 6s and 7s as Australia applied that pressure. Harrison's very slow to his feet, Wally. He really was crunched by Folks and Elias in that tackle, and Gene Miles.
That's right. Gene, I think, was the one that that came up with the hit there, and it certainly seems to have made the bloke very groggy. And I think this is the major difference between the two sides, their ability to come up with constant hard-hitting defence.
So Bella slips into dummy half as Elias plays the ball. Hasler, Miles. Well, there's the intercept by Doherty. So Hull KR back with the ball on their own 22. And a penalty against Australia. Inside the 5. I know Wally Lewis probably can't say too much, but he just shook his head at that decision.
Well, try not to be too critical of this bloke, mate, but he wasn't even watching where he penalised the guys. He was running backwards, and how he's decided to come up with a penalty out there is beyond comprehension.
So Doherty with a chance to drive play up again to the halfway line. And that's where Hull Kingston Rovers will get play back underway through their hooker, Chris Rudd. Broadhurst wrestled to the ground. Rudd again into dummy half. Out through Parker and Smith. And that's Kelly. Driven back on the halfway line. Smith's the man that lost possession. Well, we have a replacement player on the field. We have young David Busby on the field for Hull Kingston Rovers. He's a fellow that played, in fact, in Group 6 with Barrel earlier this year under the coaching of Merv Hicks. So he's going to pack in, it looks like, in the second row. And we'll try and pick up who, in fact, the front row's intact. I've got a feeling that maybe Harrison is the man that's gone off the field after that tackle by Gene Miles. Well,
yes, it certainly was a big hit, and he seemed to be feeling the effects around his chest.
Well, we've yet to see much of Kerry Bowstead in this match so far, playing at outside centre for the Hull Kingston Rovers side. Oh, Clark leaves it behind him, and the referee Kershaw has no hesitation in blowing the whistle to set a scrum down midway between the half and the quarter line at Hull Kingston Rovers end of the ground. So Hasler, ball into the scrum. It's an Australian scrum win. Belcher, stepped nicely, beat one. Got the pass away, Lamb. Put the glasses down, Terry Lamb for the line, and he'll go over for his second try. A tremendous try by Australia, set up by Gary Belcher, finished off by Terry Lamb, and it's 14 points to 4 in favour of the Winfield Kangaroos.
Yes, you can see them just taking the ball away from the scrum here. George Fairburn a little bit slow to react to Gary Belcher's step there, but a magnificent pass from Belcher to put the bloke who is always backing up away for a try. And although it did seem he was going to get pulled down a metre short, he seemed to be able to just get enough leverage off pushing Kerry Bowstead away.
So Terry Lamb will remember his debut on English soil. 2 tries already, and we've had just on 22 minutes of play in this first half. Mal Meninga, 1 from 2 so far. Raises the flag, so it's 16 points to 4 in favour of the Kangaroos, and the crowd very, very silent here at Craven Park.
I think they're a little bit disappointed in Rovers' form at the moment. They haven't had the happiest start to the season, and I was just talking to Gavin Miller in the dressing room before the game, and he just went through the horrifying stretch of injuries that they've had. I think they've had something like 6 people with broken arms or legs, and of course Gavin has broken his foot, so it has been a very bad start for them, and they've just got to just keep hanging in there.
Well, if you look at the lineup of the players missing, Wally, you've got players like Paul Harkin, David Watkinson, Gavin Miller, as you mentioned, Chris Burton, Phil Hogan and Gordon Smith, the former New Zealand international, so that really does leave a big hole in the side.
Yeah, it certainly does. That's a crippling run of injuries that they've had, and I'm sure that they'd be very disappointed if they couldn't have had a better side on the field tonight.
There goes Paul Dunn, another damaging run upfield, but slipping in there to affect the tackle is Smith, the 5'8" of Hull Kingston Rovers. Back it goes now for Meninga. A long spiralling punt kick downfield. Fairburn takes it 10 metres inside his own 22, angling it towards touch. And that's a great kick by the former England fullback. A 79 tourist to Australia. He's been capped 17 times for his country. And is currently in his 5th season with the Hull Kingston Rovers after being a former player coach with Wigan.
I think that's the best way to play against Australians at the moment, David, because they seem to be having a little bit of trouble making yardage. And, of course, George just electing there to take the easy way with 50 yards off the boot.
Gary Belcher split the line. Who's in support? None other than Terry Lamb. And he goes straight to Fairburn's defence. Elias. Switch of play. Hasler. Mortimer up towards the 22. Kick forward. Terry Lamb again is going to win the race to the ball. Oh, but it's knocked away.
There's the little halfback there, Wayne Parker, doing very well to get back and kick that ball away. Otherwise, it would have been Terry Lamb 3 tries.
He bobs up everywhere, Willie. Little bar,
yes,
he's a hard man to keep out of the match. That was clever play by Mortimer too. He saw that he was closed in on this left flank and got that left foot centre kick in as Gary Belcher takes play right on the halfway line. Takes it up to the 22 and, the intercept knocked forward by Clark, the wing. That's the 3rd time he's touched it, the 3rd time he's put it down. Benny Elias, Martin Bella. Well, he'll make some yardage up the middle. Unloaded to the Folks. And Folks flung to the ground by Kelly, the 2nd row forward of Hull Kingston Rovers. Dowling. Really disappointed that he didn't play against his old club Wigan at the weekend. Is making up for it tonight here against Hull Kingston Rovers. Lovely pass from Dunn to Miles. Miles has the support of Langmack, and Langmack goes over.
Gee, that's a good try, that, David. And I think if you have a look on the replay here, you'll see all the skills involved at rugby league. The ability to back players up and get short balls through the gap.
Well, the Canterbury boys enjoying this tonight, Wally.
Well, that's right. You get Paul Dunn slipping a marvellous pass away there to Gene Miles, who backed up. A great sidestep, and, of course, another Canterbury boy backing up in Paul Langmack. So they're certainly making their mark on the game felt at the moment, the Canterbury connection, and making Australia's run towards this game so much easier.
So it's 20 points to 4 in favour of the Kangaroos. And Mal Meninga's up to attempt yet another conversion. He's kicked 2 from 3 so far. Well, 1982, Wally, the Hull Kingston Rovers side led that match by 8 points to 5 in a bruising first 40 minutes. Before this man who's attempting the conversion, Mal Meninga and Peter Sterling, put their mark on the game, and Australia began the tour on a winning note, 30 points to 12.
Yeah, that's right. That was a great game, that one. We certainly encountered a lot of resistance from Hull, and of course Hull in those days, Hull Kingston Rovers in those days really did have a great side. Not taking anything away from the players in this match, but the side of 82 certainly was an awesome sight, and it took us a long time to get on time with them. 20
points to 4. Australia in the lead over Hull Kingston Rovers. And play about to be restarted once again by John Doherty. So Australia have scored 4 tries in the opening 26 minutes of this first half in a very bright opening to the second tour match. They won their first match by 26 points to 18 at Wigan on Sunday. Dowling takes play upfield outside his 22, taken by Emma. Now Elias in a dummy half. Got the pass to Lamb. Well, that pass looked pretty spot on to me. But the crowd went up and referee Kershaw reacted. There's a scrum win.
Very good feed there, David. Hometown decision.
So Dunn affecting the tackle. Hello, tempers flaring, and in comes the touch judge.
God.
Referee Kershaw. Who's he going to call out? So Des Hasler.
Yes, he's going to caution Des Hasler here for trying to push the bloke back that originally pushed him.
Not only do that, he's going to penalise him. And so another chance for John Doherty. Of course, the National Panasonic Company have put up a great award for the Kangaroo of the tour. Judging 3-2-1 on the first matches. The matches right throughout the tour. The first match, of course, Brian Niebling got the 3 points from Peter Sterling and Brett Kenny. And at the end of the series, this entire English leg of the tour, $5,000 worth of National Panasonic products to the Kangaroo of the tour. And, of course, Winfield are putting up a $1,000 cash incentive for the man of the match in each of the 3 test matches. Greg Dowling in on Kelly, and a penalty goes against Australia. So the penalties, 8-2 in favour of Hull Kingston Rovers. And who's being called out? Benny Elias. Okay, so Benny's been given the direction from referee Kershaw. And John Doherty elects to look for the 2 points. Well, Wally, this really has been a bright start. 30 minutes gone in this second match. A great start on Sunday to get up in the first game. And then, of course, a very, very bright beginning of this first half here at Craven Park.
Yes, I'm sure Donny Fern will be extremely happy with the start they've got now, but I just see Larry Britton, our trainer, coming out to have a word to Melbourne Eagle, and I'm sure it'll be a message from Donny Fern to just instruct our blokes to keep their dukes down a little bit, not worry about trying to punch blokes and tackles, that sort of thing, because they really have been doing it easy so far, and all we're doing at the moment is putting ourselves under a little bit of pressure by giving away...
remembering that Rocket Ready and Les Boyd were given their marching orders here in 1982. It's something that the Australians don't really want so early in the tour. As Doherty moves in, can he make it 3 from 3? It looks good. The flags go up, and so the scoreline here at Craven Park: Australia 20 lead Hull Kingston Rovers 6. Well, there's not much of him. If you look at the statistics of Stephen Folkes, only 13.5 stone, but doesn't he pack some power to those punches, those tackles, Wally?
Yes, he certainly does. Yeah, it seems to be the smaller blokes with the best timing are the best tacklers in the game at the moment. Stephen Folkes and, of course, Wally Fulton-Smith is very similar.
So the ball gone forward after Elias effected a great tackle there. So another scrub will pack down. Right on the 22, Australia leading by 20 points to 6. Second match of the Kangaroo Tour for 1986. Oh, how does the referee allow that to go on? That ball never went in the scrum, but Miles now got the pass away beautifully to Lamb. Beautiful pass to Meninga. And the Australian backs move into full flight here at Craven Park. Mortimer.
There's certainly a lot of confidence about them at the moment, David.
Well, Dale Shearer's come in from the right wing looking for work as well. Elias now at a dummy half. It goes out to Hasler, in a turn for Lamb. Out to Miles, has Belcher in support. But once again, we've seen the penalty go for obstruction, or as we would know it in Australia, the shepherding. And it's something they do appear to be quite severe on, Wally. We saw it 3 or 4 times in the match against Wigan.
Yes, they're fairly thick on it over here.
So, the play to get underway again through the hooker Rudd, and he's pinged them inside the 10. Actually, I'd love this guy measuring my carpets, Wally. He's pretty liberal, isn't he?
Yes, I'd certainly hate to run a marathon with him. You'd end up running about 50 miles.
So, George Fairburn to look for touch on the far side.
Penalties are starting to give us a bit of a hard time, David, favouring the home side 10-2.
So, a chance with Broadhurst. Hull Kingston Rovers with Emma. Elias went low. Here they go again. Out through Parker. In turn for the lock forward Speckman. Rudd slips into dummy half. Broadhurst. Good defence by Australia. Rudd goes out through Parker into Smith. There's a kick over the top, but that's too deep. And that goes over the very short in-goal area here at Craven Park. And play, in fact, will come back to the quarter line for the restart of play.
Australians looking to get on the game very quickly here, and I think that's probably the biggest difference between Australian and English football.
Look at Greg Dowling. Support play. Elias in a dummy half. And already the Australians have made a valuable 25 metres in one play. Martin Bella. Elias now again a dummy half. He'll look for Hasler on the left. And in turn for Lamb. The pass has gone forward. Well, the referee will have no option but to pack the scrum down. But the Australians, Wally, have really shown that willingness to throw it around. And so far they've been rewarded with 4 tries in the first half.
Yes, it's very good and refreshing to see Open Rugby League after so much of the game in Australia is based on defence. It really is a great spectacle. I'm sure the English do enjoy it.
Nicely taken by Belcher. Beat one tackle and couldn't beat Smith. And so Gene Miles this time will get play underway again for the Australians, running from dummy half. Picked up by Kelly and driven back with the aid of Emma, the prop forward, but whole Kingston Rovers come away with it. And it's been stolen by John Doherty. Now they move again, out to Broadhurst, and in time for Busby. And Busby takes play to about 8 metres short of the quarter line. It's Australia in the lead by 20 points to 6. Parker, Smith, Kelly, the ball's gone loose, picked up by Shearer. And again it's gone loose. And that player dives on it for Hull Kingston Rovers. It's Kelly. Now they go on the blind side. Oh, great tackle by Folkes. And a touch judge it again. Gee, you wouldn't see a better tackle anywhere in the world than that one from Stephen Folkes.
Well, the touch judge appears to have said that Stephen Folkes has come in with an elbow there. I'm not sure whether it's just our eyes, David, or whether he's seen something different to us.
Let's have a look at it. This is a bone jarrer. Oh,
goodness me.
Nothing illegal at all in that tackle. But Hull Kingston Rovers get their 11th penalty of the match.
Perhaps he could have got Stephen there for a tackle that's a little bit high, but I mean, if he's going to penalise people for tackling high, the penalties would be favouring us about 100-0.
So Paul Speckman was the man that felt the full brunt of that tackle from Stephen Folkes, as George Fairbairn comes up to try and drive it inside Australia's 22. Into the final 5 minutes of this first half, Australia lead by 20 points to 6. 4 tries to 0 by the Kangaroos in the first half. Gee, that's good solid defence again by Australia. Martin, Bella and Dowling combining. And it goes now through Parker and it turned to Busby, but he's driven back by Paul Dunn. Chris Rudd at dummy half. Again to Parker. Speckley got the ball away to Bostad. Kerry Bostad scores. Well, I think the first time, Wally, that he's touched the ball, and Bowie's done it again.
Yes, he's an electric little player, Bowie. You've only got to give him half a yard to move in, and he certainly makes the most of it.
Well, he scored 2 tries against Salford last week. He scored Hull Kingston Rovers first this afternoon tonight. It was a great pass from Speckley, and despite an injured broken leg earlier this year, Bostad has lost little or none of his pace.
Yes, it looked a little bit questionable in the end, didn't it? But full marks to Bowie. He's come back from a couple of bad injuries over the last couple of years, and if any bloke deserves it on the field, you'd certainly wish that he scored that try.
Well, I mentioned earlier, Wally, we'd hardly seen him. I think from memory that is his first touch of the match. He's picked up a couple of loose balls, but the first time he's touched it with the ball going across the line.
Yes, and I'm sure there'd be no happier player to score a try against Australia than Bowie. I know he's an extremely disappointed bloke to miss out on the tour, having had so many bad injuries during the year. And,
well, what a fine ambassador he has been for his country. 25 internationals for the boy from Innisfail. He came into the scene, I think, back in 1978-79.
That's right, yeah. I'm sure that only injuries has stopped him from probably being the most capped Australian representative ever. And it certainly is a shame to lose a bloke of his ability.
So John Doherty, his Australian centre partner in this whole Kingston Rovers lineup, has had 100% record so far. It has just been ruined, as his attempted conversion goes well to the left of the uprights, and it's 20 points to 10 in favour of the Kangaroos.
Look a little bit flat, and I think they were starting to get the hitting the brick wall feeling after quite some time.
Well, Des Hasler's coming off the ground. Greg Alexander is coming on for Australia. Yes, so the young Penrith halfback makes his Australian debut.
I'm sure it's a very proud moment for Greg at the moment, and all Penrith know just how good he is, and I'm sure that the rest of Australia is waiting just to see how he handles it. I'm sure he'll make a great fist of his first representation.
Wally, he came into the side for the injured Eric Growth. Was he overawed at all when he arrived at the airport to go? Was he overawed at all at the way he came into the side?
I don't think so. I think he was a little bit shocked, as everybody is the first time they get called into an Australian side. I think he felt extremely proud, and he's going to go on and represent Australia for quite some time, I feel.
Dale Shearer. Good defence. The ball's gone loose. And so a scrum will go down. I'm sure I know what the ruling would have been in the Winfield Premiership in Sydney in that play, Wal.
Well, the referee gave the signal for pulling the ball out of the man's hands in the tackle, so good feed.
Oh, Smith was in no man's land there, picked up by Miles. Support this time of Alexander. Greg Alexander. Oh, beautiful run. Meninga lost it, and it's picked up by Boasted. So Hull Kingston Rovers through Emma on the blind side, driven by Terry Lamb. Into the final minute or so towards half-time. Another mistake by Hull Kingston Rovers.
Gee, Paul Langmack showed magnificent hands there to scoop that ball up, Dave.
Part of the Canterbury back row of Langmack, Dunn and Folkes. Elias. Through the dummy, Benny Elias. The pass to Bella, and the pass has been ruled forward. So, an Australian scoring chance goes begging with the pass from Elias to Martin Bella being ruled forward. But they have in fact scored 4 tries to 1 in this first half here at Craven Park to be leading by 20 points to 10. The second match of the Kangaroo Tour of 1986. There's Folkes in there again. Another solid tackle by the Australian second row forward.
I'm certain he'll be way in front of the tackle count at the moment. He's certainly leading the way. He's although he's only played a couple of tests, he's probably one of the most experienced players we have on the field.
Here's Dale Shearer, taken by Smith, right in the centre of the field. Greg Alexander at dummy half. Bella. He's had a very impressive opening to his campaign here in Britain. Martin Bella has run with great determination. Benny Elias allowed to run again from dummy half as the hooter sounds at Craven Park with Australia in the lead by 20 points to 10 with tries to Elias, 2 to Terry Lamb and 1 to Paul Langmack. Meninga 2 goals from 4 attempts, and for Hull Kingston Rovers, Boasted a try, Dorothy 3 goals from 4 attempts. We'll be back with more of the action right after this commercial break. And as we welcome you back to Craven Park at Hull, Australia lead by 20 points to 10 at half-time against Hull Kingston Rovers, a club over the years, Wally, that has had a fair smattering of Australians. Probably the most famous, other than John Dorothy, Gavin Miller and Kerry Boasted, was your coach at Queensland, the great Artie Beetson, back in 1968-69.
Yes, that's right. And they've put out a brochure here commemorating tonight's game, of course, and there's a picture of a very slim Arthur Beetson in there, somebody that not too many in Australia would remember, but is still very much loved here. And of course, many people asking still how Arthur is in Australia, and he's still a very widely respected man.
Well, of course, Bob Smithies and Alan Fitzgibbon were here in the early 70s, as was Lindsay and Peter Johnson last year in 85-86. Peter, of course, winning the trip to Wembley for the Cup final. But Gavin Miller is missing tonight, but Dorothy and Kerry Boasted have scored all of Hull Kingston Rovers' points in the first half, but they trailed by 20 points to 10 with the Kangaroos in possession of the ball with Shearer trying to unload it to Elias, but he was finally wrapped up on the quarter line by the 5'8 Smith. So Australia scoring 4 tries to 1 in the first half as Dowling makes inroads into the Hull Kingston Rovers defence before he's claimed by Broadhurst. That's Elias at dummy half. It goes back to Big Mal Meninga. Puts his right foot to the ball, driving it deep downfield towards the fullback Fairbairn. He elects to try and run it outside his 22, but well taken by Lamb. He's lost it. And finally picked up by Paul Dunn. And the referee now in there trying to decide who has possession. Oh, how does it go back to Hull Kingston Rovers? Cannot believe that decision as Emma takes it up to 10 metres outside his own goal line.
I think the only thing you can get out of that, David, is that he's playing in the advantage. English referees sometimes do decide, even after 2 or 3 knock-ons, to play an advantage rule.
That's Emma. Out to Parker. In turn for Smith. Pivoted out of one tackle. And he's pinned just inside his own 22. So, big Andy Kelly in a dummy half. Out to Broadhurst. That's Parker. Takes play outside the 22. And it appears that Paul Dunn has come up with the ball for Australia. Elias. And penalty. Only the fourth penalty. Or the third penalty to Australia in 45 minutes of football. 11-3, the penalties now in favour of Hull Kingston Rovers. So Elias drives play inside the danger area in defence for Hull Kingston Rovers. They're about 12 metres out from the line. Lamb out to Miles. Beautiful pass for Meninga. And a barraging run from the big Queensland centre. Quickly to his feet. Makes another 2 metres before he's claimed in the tackle. Dorothy down injured after that attempt to tackle on Big Mal Meninga. Dunn stood in the tackle. Over the top came Kelly. Now Elias from dummy half. Lamb, Elias. Ran straight to Kelly and also to Zukemma. Greg Dowling, don't be surprised to see him go on his own. Folks showed the ball and went head down, 5 metres out from the Hull Kingston Rovers line. Elias. There's the kick through by Alexander. Forward towed over the top that time by David Laws. But play will come back to the goal line for the restart of play.
Very lucky that he did tow that ball over the line as well there, David. Terry Lamb would have had his third try otherwise.
Shearer traps it soccer style. Oh, dreadful defence from Hull Kingston Rovers. Elias through one. Benny Elias will score his second try of the match. And Australia go further ahead here at Craven Park.
Benny's obviously summed up the English defence a lot here, David. That's the second time he's managed to break right through. And if you just have a look at the style he uses as he goes through the tackles, he managed to duck under all of the tackles, but it really shouldn't have been allowed to get that far with the amount of high tackles used by the English here. They just failed to put the tackle player on the ground.
Well, that's Dunn standing in the tackle. Now we see Elias finishing it off through the dummy. That's woeful defence over the top. And the little Balmain hooker streets away for his second try of the match. So Terry Lamb assuming the goal-kicking role for Australia. Mal Meninga had kicked 2 from 4 in the first half. Lamb with the ball placed. The highest point scorer in the Sydney Premiership this year. Moves in. A confident start to the England tour. Tremendous kick from Terry Lamb, and it's 26 points to 10 in favour of the Kangaroos. Well, it's not a bad third-string kicker to have at the touring party, Wally.
Yes, he certainly is. It was a very difficult kick for him, but he seemed to make it look very easy.
Oh, that's beautifully taken by Paul Dunn. As if he had it on a piece of string. Elias. Langmack, stepping run by the Canterbury lock forward. Elias runs from dummy half again, through another dummy. Got the pass, back to his opposite number, Chris Rudd. I mentioned earlier in the first half that I thought I'd see a lot of running from Benny Elias tonight, and he hasn't let us down, Wally.
No, he's got a very good running game, Benny. It starts at Balmain, where he manages to get a lot of support there, and he certainly does make things a lot easier for the guys running onto the ball. He sees that if they're going to get heavily tackled by a bloke, he opts to take the tackle himself, and more often than not manages to make a break.
26 points to 10, Australia in the lead. Out to Parker. Bowstead. Oh, that's a great tackle from Meninga. Finally put to ground by Alexander. That's the kick from Smith. Belcher covering good ground. Took it nicely on the run. Geez, a confident player, Gary Belcher.
Yes,
taking play right up to halfway.
He really is a magnificent positional player. Wayne Bennett tutored him in Queensland for a number of years, being a former state and Australian fullback himself, and certainly has managed to pass on a lot of his knowledge to Gary, and the way he manages to position himself on the field certainly makes it a lot easy.
There's the pass back in for Bella. Showed great hands as well, but his passing game wasn't up to the same standard. Gary Belcher, in fact, took a long while to really break into State of Origin football, Wally, with Colin Scott being up there in Queensland. But he, like Martin Bella this year, when the representative opportunities have come, they've really grabbed their opportunities.
Yes, they have, and I'm sure that he's going to make things difficult for Gary Jack. He mightn't displace him, but he'll certainly make Gary retain the best form possible to retain his test position.
Zukema taking play midway between the half and the quarter line, still at Hull Kingston Rovers' end of the ground. Oh, Parker had a bit of a look before he put the ball down, so a scrum will go down with an Australian put in. And the scrum will be fed by Greg Alexander. And I think the crowd told the story.
Yes, another penalty against Australia. I think in all fairness, it is very difficult to get the ball into a scrum over here, David. It's just as much Australia's fault as Kingston Rovers, because the scrums in England certainly do seem to be a lot worse than those in Australia.
So, Hull Kingston Rovers in possession of the ball inside Australia's half. Broadhurst taking play upfield. But again, some solid defence from Martin Bella. Zukema beat Bella's tackle, got it back to Broadhurst. He's wrestled to the ground by Meninga. And also by Greg Dowling. Rudd in number 9, slipping into dummy half. On the blind side goes Smith. Held it back infield for Fairbairn. And he takes play to the 22. Rudd, penalty against Australia inside the 5. And the quick tap's taken by Parker. Ball's loose on the ground. Oh, that's offside, surely.
I think Australia might have come up with the ball there, David, but as you said, it certainly did appear to be slightly offside.
There's Elias again from dummy half. Well, just hope he doesn't overdo that that running from that position. He really ran into a brick wall on that occasion. Langmack. Bella. Gee, shows some great strength. He's 17 stone though, Wally. There's a bit of him.
Yes, and he's put on a couple of pounds since he's been here, and Martin says that he's not scared about putting on any weight. He believes that he can play just as well closer towards 18 stone, so I'm sure certainly he'll be a fearsome sight running at you at 18 stone.
That's a great kick again from Fairbairn. Taking play inside Australia's end of the ground. So it's 26 points to 10 in favour of the Winfield Kangaroos. Second match of this Kangaroo tour for 1986. They led by 20 points to 10 at half-time. Here's another break by Australia. Langmack held it back up. Alexander, darting run. He's got the support out wide. Greg Alexander, pass for Shearer. And the cover's there in the form of Smith. Meninga. Runs from dummy half. Alexander held it up. Elias. Hull Kingston Rovers a bit thin on the short side here. Elias spotted it. Beautiful pass in for Dunn. Elias, Australia with a chance now. Dowling, good strong run by the Australian prop. The pass has gone astray, and it's dived on, in fact, by Andy Kelly. Well, this time, even the Hull fans, or the Hull Kingston Rovers fans, don't agree with Jerry Kershaw. So a scrum to go down, 10 metres out from the Robins goal line. Crowd of around about 8,500, 9,000 people here tonight at Craven Park. That is capacity. There's Langmack off the back. Langmack beautifully cut down by John Dorahy. So Mortimer is the man that goes into dummy half. Dunn stood upright as he charged into that Hull Kingston Rovers defence. Watch for Elias here. Out to Alexander. This is good defence by Hull Kingston Rovers. They've been under pressure. Elias went on his own, slipped under another tackle. Terry Lamb, Bella. There's the pass for Lamb, beautifully picked up, and a good try disallowed.
No, I think he's given the try,
no,
David.
He's given the try. What a beautiful pair of hands from Terry Lamb. That's his hat-trick. That's beautifully picked up.
Yes, you can clearly see it on the replay that he has picked the ball up there, but the referee certainly hasn't earned much of the crowd's pleasure here, and they're letting him know all about it.
So Terry Lamb scores his third try. Australia 30, Hull Kingston Rovers 10. Well, I think from memory, Wally, the last Australian to score a hat-trick of tries in his debut in Great Britain was the famous Reg Gasnier back in 1959-60. So a marvellous opening match for Terry Lamb.
Yes, he certainly couldn't have started England any better.
So a chance to convert his third try. He's kicked 1 from 1 so far. Terry Lamb struck it nicely. Up go the flags. It's 32 points to 10 in favour of Australia. As Hull Kingston Rovers get the ball underway again. Well, you remember this one for a while to come, I should have mentioned, Wally.
Oh, there's an awesome sight. Malmaninga running at full speed.
Terry Lamb loses it. That will have to come back for the scrum. Walls Mel had 5 goes at it. I think he'll come back and play the first knock on. So the Parker, the scrum half for Hull Kingston Rovers, comes around, puts the ball into the scrum, and they've won it. Parker, wrestled to the ground by Lamb. Emma. 10 metres short of the 22. Australia's entered the ground. Kelly. Good defence again by Australia. Langmack went over the top and Dowling underneath. Out it goes to Parker. In turn for Speckman and then in turn for Kelly. Terry Lamb is down injured, but he's back to his feet. Back it goes for Smith. Charged down by Dowling into the hands of Broadhurst. 6 more tackles to go for Hull Kingston Rovers. 32 points to 10. Australia in the lead. That's Smith that goes down to ground with the ball about a metre out from the Australian 22. There's Broadhurst with a kick over the top. Back goes Mortimer in defence for Australia. And he's got the ball about a metre out from his own line. Belcher. Well, it really has been an impressive performance by the Australians, Folly, considering that the team that played in the first match the other day was basically a proven combination with maybe a couple of newcomers into that side. But this side tonight really has basically been thrown together for this match.
Well, that's right, and I know it concerned a lot of people. Donny Fernan was a little bit worried in the training sessions. It didn't seem to go together all that well, but the players have the proven ability on the board. They've played in the Sydney competition and of course Gene in the Brisbane competition, where they've been used to week in, week out hard efforts, and I'm sure that it hasn't really been all that much trouble for them to combine.
Well, it augurs well for the rest of the tour as they set out to emulate the 82 Kangaroos, of which you're a member of, undefeated through Britain and France. And it looks as though they're well on their way to making it 2 out of 2 as Dunn goes crashing upfield. Just bumps Busby off as if he wasn't there. Alexander, Lamb, there's the kick through. Belcher. But the referee...
He's called him offside.
Gary Belcher shows his disgust as well. And a penalty to Hull Kingston Rovers. Well, maybe Gary Belcher was just a bit quick for the referee there. I don't think he realised that Belcher may have had the ability to be able to cover that match ground. That's an astonishing 14-5, the penalty count against Australia, but we're still leading by 32 points to 10.
It certainly doesn't come as any real surprise, though, David. I think it's very rare that Australia ends up in the better half of the penalty counts in England.
Busby. Taken in the centre of the ground. Rudd slips in a dummy half. Speckman is first man up off the ruck, putting his foot to the ball. Belcher coming across. He fields it about 8 metres out from his own goal line. Oh, good tackle by Smith. Mike Smith, of course, toured Australia in 1979 and 84. Has yet to play a test match against Australia on Australian soil. He played, in fact, against the New Zealanders at the second leg of that both tours in 79 and 84. Benny Elias. The pass has gone astray again. Picked up this time by Dowling. That should be 6 more tackles. Shearer. But good defence. Shearer to his feet. Back it goes for Elias. Oh, Law's made a meal of that. Got around Bella.
Oh, great tackle from Paul Langmack.
Now Broadhurst. Emma. Parker. Oh, great good tackle again from Folkes.
He's left that man on the ground too, David, and he just amazes people. He certainly amazes me, the way he can hit for the size of the bloke. He's got a very big ticket, that's for sure.
Gene Miles bursts through. Finally put to ground. Folkes allows Elias to go into dummy half, and Australia lined out an attack. Alexander, Lamb, the wraparound with Alexander. Beautiful pass. Langmack, Terry Lamb, 4th try, and what a gem that was. Absolute gem by Australia.
Yes, I've got to agree with the crowd that time, though, David. There was one pass in there just coming up from Alexander, which was very, very questionable.
What a great try, though. Lamb over under the post. His 4th try of the match. So it's 36 points to 10 with the kick to come. Lamb already has scored 20 points of that tally. Four tries, 2 goals from 2 attempts. It'd be pretty fair to say a reasonably impressive performance in his debut match on English soil. And he's about to add to that tally from right in front.
It's a little bit of an understatement to say reasonably, David. He's had a magnificent start to the tour here, and I think he's only going to get better, Bar. He's that sort of player where these conditions will suit him very well.
38 points to 10. Australia in the lead over Hull Kingston Rovers. So play about to get underway again. The restart through the fullback Fairbairn, driving it deep into Australia's 22. Tell you what, Paul Dunn has shown some superb hands from those kickoffs tonight, Wally.
Yes, we've been playing a little bit of cricket in the hallways at the hotel, and it seems to have rubbed off very well.
Well, of course, Phil Daly is the only player on this tour so far not to have experienced some time out in the middle. We saw Les Davidson come on as a replacement against Wigan at the weekend. But no doubt Phil will get his chance in the next game or two as Belcher held the ball up, and a beautiful pass again. Australia on the boil. Bella couldn't get down to pick it up. And now Fairbairn replied. Oh, what a tackle of Meninga. I don't think there's any love lost between those two.
No, Mel's not George Fairbairn's biggest fan, I can tell you that.
Out to Broadhurst. Beat Elias's tackle. Can't beat Bella. But I'll tell you what, we saw some outstanding performance from Brian Niebling in the first match against Wigan. And Greg Dowling and Martin Bella certainly haven't let Australia down tonight. And Steve Roach's test partner in the front row is still very much a contentious point, Wally.
Well, I think there's a lot of contentious points in this team at the moment, David. And if Terry Lamb keeps going like he is, I'll be buying a voodoo doll, I can tell you. So it's great to see that all the players on the tour can produce such good form, because what it does is ensure that everybody is on their toes week in and week out, and certainly makes them produce the best form that they possibly can.
Well, Stephen Folkes is about to be replaced by Les Davidson in the Australian camp. Folkes looked a bit dodgy with that injury early, but gee, he's been outstanding tonight. Some of his defensive hits have been unbelievable out there. So Les Davidson is the man about to come on for Australia. Stephen Folkes will be the man to come off. Fairburn didn't really want it. Bowstead. And that's the first time David Laws has hung onto the ball tonight. And a beautiful tackle from Terry Lamb. And a penalty, in fact, goes again against Australia. In fact, their 15th penalty of the night. And Fairburn up quickly this time to look for touch. Rudd with the restart of play for Hull Kingston Rovers. Emma. Dowling was the man around the ankles. 36 points to 10. 38 points to 10 in favour of Australia. Dorothy with the chip over the top. Beautifully taken again by Gene Miles. Fairburn wraps him up in the tackle. Elias, the dummy half, working the blind side again. Langmack to his feet. Paul Dunn charging upfield. Elias in support. So too is Lamb. And in turn, Alexander. Beautiful pass back in for Meninga. Again, Terry Lamb. He's lost the ball on this occasion. But Clark is driven to the turf right inside the touchline on the far side. Mortimer. Hello. The touch judge is in again. Oh. Well, that probably would be worth having a look at again if we can. I really couldn't see too much wrong with that.
Wouldn't be surprised if this touch judge orders a video of this game, David. He's featured in the game just as much as the players have.
Let's see what happened here. Mortimer drove him to the ground there. Now, what's the tackle here, Wally? Very little in that at all, but 16 penalties, and that's the 16th to Hull Kingston Rovers. Taken upfield this time by Zook Emma. 10 metres out from the Australian 22. Broadhurst grubbering for touch on the far side and finds it. So the scrum will pack down about 10 metres out from Australia's goal line. And it appears there is going to be a substitution. John Dorothy will be the man coming off, and Ray Stead will be the lad coming on. He's only a youngster, in fact, only signed for the Colts last week. Has the versatility of being able to play at wing, centre or fullback. And he'll be the man coming on to replace Australia's John Dorothy. So a 19-year-old lad, a great moment in his life playing against the Australian Kangaroos. Alexander from the scrum base. Belcher kept the ball alive to Mortimer. Australia camped inside their quarter. Dunn tries to change that by taking it right up to the 22 line. Elias from dummy half. Dowling. Blindside is Langmack. Elias. Head down again, but runs straight into the big top forward, Zook Emma. and finally goes to ground. 38 points to 10. Australia in the lead. Back it goes. Fairbairn and also David Lawes. That's him in possession of the ball. Oh, what a hit from Meninga. Well, that's 2 in a row. I think you summed it up pretty well before, Wally, when you said he wasn't his greatest fan. And I think he's set out tonight to let Fairbairn know that he's out on the field.
Yes, that's for sure. On that occasion, it was the winger who felt the full brunt of Malcolm's tackling ability.
So another penalty goes against Australia. Mark Broadhurst turned it back inside. Play on the halfway line. The tackle by Bella. The run to the man at dummy half. Out it goes to Emma. He takes play about 5 metres upfield. Chris Rudd. Broadhurst. Gee, that's good defence again by Martin Bella.
Certainly been a very impressive display for Martin in his first time representing Australia.
There's the kick over the top from Smith. Taken by Alexander. Good pass for Belcher. Dowling. Takes play to 10 metres inside the Robbins end of the ground. Elias. Bella. Unloaded it nicely. Alexander. Support of Meninga. Really, Meninga loves these conditions in England. Superb Kangaroo tour of 82.
Here comes number 5.
Terry Lamb, try number 5. Will it be? No, he's lost it.
If only for Kerry Boosted not tackling there. Bo, I think, could have virtually knocked up a record for a club game in England.
What I was about to say, Wally...
Oh, here comes the other... These guys, truly, they've got to be kidding.
Touch judge it again. The referee has waved the touch judge away. There's the kick from Smith. Retreating is Mortimer, but the ball is out on the full, and play will come back for the scrum. What I was saying, about to say, Wally, Meninga, a superb tour at 82, another outstanding performance with St Helens.
Yes.
He really saves it up for over here. I think the heavy grounds really suit the big fella.
Certainly does. Plus, Mel's exceptionally strong on the upper half of his body, and it's just a waste of time trying to tackle him high. And the English, you would have thought they would have learnt from their last lesson when Mel was over here. Anybody attempting to tackle him around the shoulder or chest area will just get swatted off like a fly.
Well, believe it or not, another penalty to Hull Kingston Rovers. And that now makes it 17 penalties to 5, but Australia still lead by 38 points to 10. Zook Emma taken again in the tackle by Greg Dowling. Back it goes through Parker and in turn for Smith. But Australia's defence again equal to the task, and once again the man getting up was Bella and also the replacement player Davidson. There's the kick from Speckman. And that's a handy kick indeed from the Hull KR number 13, taking play up towards the Australian 22. Well, Wally, it'd be fair to say that there appears to be tremendous spirit in the Australian side. We've only been over here for about 10 days. But the side has seemed to settle in very, very well indeed as a unit. And obviously the confidence is very high for the first test at Old Trafford.
Yes, that's right. As you said, the team spirit is marvellous, and it seems to really assist you when you're on a tour. Everybody seems to get everything and share everything that they do. And I'm sure that if they continue to do so, it's going to be one of the most formidable teams in this country.
So Meninga, the kick for touch on this commentary side of Craven Park. Well, I know the catch cry in 82 was one in, all in. Wally, wasn't it? That's much the same thing, typical Australian tradition.
Yes, that's right.
You would have seen that here at Craven Park in the first match.
Well, that's right. We make a point of staying together, doing everything, and same rule as now, just before dinner, everybody gets together to have a drink. And I think it's one of the best things about touring. Everybody manages to stick together very well, and you become very proud of your country.
Very proud of Australia's performance here tonight. 38 points to 10 as Bella takes it upfield. And he's taken in the tackle by the lock forward Paul Speckman. Benny Elias. Now for Lamb. He elects to come this side of the ground, putting it over the head of David Laws. And the ball will in fact go dead in goal. And play will come back to the quarter line. So time ticking away in the second half of the second match of the Kangaroo Tour for 1986, and Australia in the lead by 38 points to 10. They led by 20 points to 10 at half-time. As Elias goes away again, Terry Lamb beat one tackle and beat another.
Number 5.
Can this be try number 5? It is. Terry Lamb has had an outstanding debut, scoring his 5th try. And that puts Australia in the lead by 42 points to 10. Well, this has got to be some sort of record, Wally, hasn't it?
Yes, I can see the voodoo doll coming out very early in this tour. But he really is a marvellous support player. And, of course, he's not only shown his supporting skills here, but his ability to step off both feet to easily wrong-foot the English defence.
So he's decided to give Greg Alexander a kick for goal. He's already kicked 3 from 3. I think he's had a fair outing out there tonight. 26 points from 5 tries and 3 goals. And now Greg Alexander. 4th kicker used on this Australian tour so far. Let's see what he can do. He's missed it. So the Australians really running away with this encounter now. It's 42 points to 10 in favour of the Kangaroos. Well, Bar Lamb doesn't need too much of an excuse for celebrations. I'm sure he's going to make full use of this tonight, Wally.
Yes, and one can't blame him either, mate. His first game in England, he's certainly, I'm sure, made a lot of people sit up and take notice of him. And he hasn't finished with this tour yet, that's for sure.
There's Langmack, Lamb's Canterbury teammate. Lamb again with the ball for Mortimer. So the Canterbury players combining over on that far side again. Play on the halfway line. It's 42 points to 10. Bella charges upfield for Australia. Leaves the ball behind him. And it's finally picked up by Smith. Now they move it through Emma. Oh. Picked up by Dunn and Dowling. Smith. There's a good run by Kelly. 42 points to 10, Australia in the lead. They've scored 8 tries to 1. There's the kick over the top. Oh, Belcher under pressure. Finally tidied it up. Well, he couldn't blame Gary Belcher on that occasion. The ball came back to him at a great rate of knots. He actually got one hand to it and lost it. But did the thing all good fullbacks should do, and that's recover that mistake. So Hull Kingston Rovers with the ball on the blind side. Now to the open side goes Smith. But I think it was the wrong option he took. He ran straight into Martin Bella. 8 metres out from the 22. Stead left it behind. Davidson knocked it on. The referee still says play on. That is advantage if ever I've seen it. And finally, Busby takes play to the 22. Stead. Back for Smith. Tried to stand the Australian defence up. But once again, he's wrapped up on the quarter line. And a penalty. Quick tap taken. Broadhurst. Lost by Alexander. Well, that makes the penalty count in favour of Hull Kingston Rovers 18-6. Out it goes again. Turned back inside for Kelly. Les Davidson there with a good solid tackle. Back it goes. Smith hoiks it in the air again. Gary Belcher, safe as a bank, runs it out from his own goal line, and in fact takes it up towards the 22.
Of course, the bomb rule not operating here in England at the moment, David, where the ball's caught behind. We're still playing under international laws, and you've got to run the ball out.
Here's a run upfield by Dowling. Knocked down by Laws, and the referee rules the knock on. So the try scorers for Australia in this match: Terry Lamb with 5 tries, Elias 2, and Paul Langmack 1. Meninga has kicked 2 goals from 4 attempts, Lamb 3 from 3, and Alexander has missed his only attempt. And in fact, Australia has scored all the points out there tonight, Wally, because the 10 points that have come up from Hull Kingston Rovers have all been scored by the Australians who tried to carry Bowstead, and 3 goals from 4 attempts from John Dorahy. So it really has been a pleasant outing for the Robins out here tonight.
No, I don't think they've enjoyed it, but I think in those statistics about the Australians scoring all the points, it certainly seems to indicate at the moment that Australia are a big force in rugby league in this country, not only in these sort of games, but of course the amount of Australians playing over here.
Well, a penalty against Benny Elias, pulling back the wing 3-quarter David Laws. So George Fairbairn to look for touch. Australia led by 20 points to 10 at half-time. Currently lead by 42 points to 10. Rudd. That's Smith. Left behind. Picked up by guess who? Terry Lamb. Oh, good play, Alexander. And Gene Miles combining. Well, some tempers are fraying. There's a good run by Davidson. Oh, popped the pass up for Dunn.
Have a look.
Oh, no. Terry Lamb, unselfish play for Mortimer. And Mortimer goes over for another Australian try. That could well have been Terry Lamb's number 6, but it comes up with Chris Mortimer scoring in his first appearance for Australia. Totally unselfish play here from the Canterbury 5 open. What a good run by Davidson.
Yes,
and a great
Davidson
pass.
certainly took everybody on there and slipped a magnificent ball in here. Although a little bit fortuitous, it was still great play to get it there.
And now it came across to Alexander. Constant backing up from Lamb. Popped it back in for Mortimer. And over he went in the corner for another Australian try. In fact, their 9th try of the match. And so big Malcolm Meninga back on the far touchline. His current tally is 2 goals from 4 attempts. It's 46 points to 10. Australia rattling up 26 points in the second 40 minutes in a very impressive performance on the second match of the tour. Meninga from touch, far side of the ground. And it's waved away. So the scoreline, 46 points to 10 in favour of the Australian Kangaroos. Well, Wally, what a night it's been for the Canterbury boys. They may not have won the grand final this year, but they've scored 7 of the 9 tries scored by Australia tonight, with Lamb with 5 and Langmack and Mortimer also contributing.
Yes, that's right. As we mentioned at the start of the coverage here, David, there's certainly a lot of combination out there, and they proved just how valuable they are when they do get together, and it's certainly been an outstanding performance, of course led by Terry.
Well, I doubt if there would be any more worthy recipient than the 3 points in our national Panasonic man of the match tonight. The tally of points collated right throughout this tour, and the winner at the end of the tour receives $5,000 of product by courtesy of National Panasonic. But there has also been some other outstanding performances that would have to come into contention. Wally, I know that you've been impressed by Martin Bella.
Yes, I have. For a guy playing his first time in Australian colours, it's a great way to start an international career. And for mine, although Terry Lamb did score all of those tries, I think Martin Bella certainly has pressed him all the way for the man of the match.
OK, so the final scoreline, 46 points to 10 in favour of Australia. Tries Lamb 5, Langmack, Mortimer and Elias, who scored 2 tries. Meninga 2 goals from 4 attempts, Lamb 3 from 3. And for Hull Kingston Rovers, Bowstead a try, John Dorahy kicked 3 goals from 4 attempts, and Australia led by 20 points to 10 at half-time. My thanks to Australia's touring captain, Wally Lewis, for joining us in the commentary box tonight. It's been great having you along, Wall. All the best for the rest of the tour, particularly for the first test at Old Trafford in a week or so's time.
Thanks very much, Dave. It's been my pleasure.
OK, and we'll take a break here on Network 10. We'll be back